Hey, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Post Fight Show here at the Mandatory. Remember, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. Shakur Stevenson gets another W, takes care of Artem, and a lot of people were thinking he needed the stoppage tonight, that he needed a knockout. There were a bunch of things that happened in this fight. Number one, he got booed. People left early. And like I mentioned, he won by unanimous decision. So lots of questions for Shakur Stevenson because that was the final fight on his top rank deal. So we're going to get into all of that. This is an interactive show. So if you got comments, if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, drop some comments. We're going to get to them. Don't worry. And also later on in the show, after we wrap this up, we are going to get into a little bit of Ryan Garcia. Of course, Ryan Garcia drama. It happens every day, I feel like. But Bryan, let's start off with the fight. Shakur Stevenson wins by unanimous decision. I personally thought he would get the stoppage between rounds 7 through 12. You thought 9 through 12. We were both wrong, but I'm pretty sure other people were wrong too, because everyone was saying leading up to this fight, including Shakur. Well, Shakur was saying he was going to get the stoppage or the knockout. It didn't happen. But your thoughts on what we just saw?
Yeah, and we talked about it this week on the show when we did our preview, that at one point the line for Shakur Stevenson to win by knockout or technical knockout was minus 105, the same as winning by decision at minus 105, which since changed. I checked again before the fight tonight rather, and the line for him to win by knockout, technical knockout, was minus 140-ish in one book. And that we don't see that for Shakur Stevenson fights. There was plus money on the decision. It was like plus 110, plus 115, plus 120. I was like, damn, should I hedge off my plus 290 for him to get the late stoppage? And in hindsight, I should have. The bet that I really should be pissed about is the Oshaki Foster one. We'll talk about that later a little bit because we can't ignore that, but we're going to get to that. But, Shakur Stevenson, I thought, the first 2 rounds were slow. He was getting booed in round 3, and that's when he started picking it up gradually. I'm not going to kill him for the first 2 rounds because the first 2 rounds of a fight, defensive fighter, he's going to feel him out. That's what he does. He's walking to the ring with Terrence Crawford and Andre Ward. Those are guys that did that all the time. Then you started to see him pick it up, and it's like, oh, shit, you get to like round 6, round 7. So his best work was really between rounds 4 through like 7, 8-ish, probably 7. And then 8, 9 is where it started like tapering off a little bit, and it's like, all right, why is he not throwing his left hand anymore? Why is Artem catching the second win, as Tim Bradley said? So we almost got the performance that we wanted from Shakur Stevenson. We got like 4 or 5 rounds of it, and then the beginning and the end was kind of like, like this is what makes him frustrating ultimately.
And you make a good point. We saw flashes of Shakur's greatness between the mid rounds. I honestly thought he was going to pick him apart in the mid rounds before the fight, and he would get the stoppage between round 7 through 12. That just didn't happen. And we kind of saw him not fade, but not engage as much in the later rounds. And that's because he was looking for the knockout. And Shakur Stevenson has a beautiful lead hand. He has a beautiful jab. And as you heard Tim Bradley say on the broadcast, as you heard Shakur Stevenson's grandfather say, use your jab. Like if you use your jab consistently, you're going to get the stoppage or the knockout. And Shakur Stevenson was just talking back to him the whole entire time. I have other thoughts on what was going on in the corner that was extremely annoying.
You were not happy about that.
I was not. You gotta listen to your trainer. And I thought Shakur Stevenson was just talking to him the whole entire time. I think one of the times he was like, "Yo, if I don't get the knockout, I'll retire or something." Did you hear him say that? I was like, "Shut up!" I was just like, if I was his granddaddy, I would be like, "Shut up." You know what I mean? Like I would have told him to shut up right there. But nonetheless, I mean, he wins by unanimous decision. We saw flashes of how great Shakur Stevenson is, but it's not the performance that I think we needed from him, because I think he needed the stoppage. I think he needed the knockout. When you have your fans, you're in your backyard, and they're leaving before the 12th round. I don't care what anybody says. That's bad, Bryan. He's here talking about how he wants Loma, was rocking the Loma tee post-fight. It's like there's a reason why these guys are not fighting you. Number one, you're really good. You're frustrating. I do want to say that. Okay, Shakur Stevenson will mentally get to you because he's so hard to touch. But then it's like you have to engage more. Let your hands go a little bit more. Like take a little bit of the risk. And that's why I love Bud Crawford, because he'll throw a punch and he'll get hit, but he's going to knock your ass out. he takes the risk, right? That's why I like Bud. But like when your fans are leaving before the 12th round, Bryan, that's a problem. That's an issue. And now I think we should kind of discuss the fact that it's his last fight on his Top Rank deal and how suitors are going to be looking at this. Because if I'm Shakur, I would probably still look to stay with Top Rank because Dennis Berinchik is the other title holder there at Top Rank. That's a fight they could easily make. What are your thoughts? Like, where do you think he's going to go? And do you think this performance has suitors going, oh my God, I need Shakur Stevenson on my roster after that performance? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think he's not going to make money somewhere else because ultimately he's polarizing and he's one of the best boxers in the sport. People are bored by him, but I still feel like people are going to be interested in like what actually happens if he gets a fight of his caliber. Like I think the opponent has part of this too. In XL, we actually do. We're both watching the Shane Mosley Jr. Danny Jacobs right now as we're doing the show. We both have it on right now, which we may touch on at some point. But the top rank piece of this is very interesting to me because it's like this is what's frustrating about Shakur Stevenson is he's really talented, he's really good, and we saw it at parts of this fight where he can actually fight in the pocket. He is defensively great. He is offensively accurate. He can sit on his punches and actually hit you with some pop. He can defend very well. Like he can kind of like what Teddy Atlas used to say is you can kind of walk in the rain without getting wet. Like he's very good at doing that and fighting on the inside despite not being a big puncher, which is why it's like, all right, why can't you be more offensive? Like I get the fact that this is hitting and not getting hit, but we talk all the time about dudes who want to be like Floyd Mayweather when it's like they want to be like late stage Floyd Mayweather, like really late stage Floyd Mayweather, where Floyd Mayweather was kind of fighting a more conservative style as opposed to early Floyd Mayweather when he was becoming one of the pound for pound best, where he was wrecking dudes. Like at one point,
Pretty boy Floyd, man. Come on.
like his knockout percentage was crazy before he started like being a little bit more conservative. And, you know, and even in doing that, he became a marketing machine because he knew how to market himself. Like I think Shakur Stevenson wants to try to emulate that, but it's not going to happen if people are already booing you in your hometown. This is the third time in your last 4 fights that you fight in Newark, and that's where you're from. And I think there's a reason the Top Rank keeps putting him there. So I'd be interested to see like what in the free agent market. Shit, I've been covering the hell out of NBA free agency if you follow me. So I'm always interested in free agency talk. And I wonder if in boxing, like, is there going to be a quote unquote bidding war for Shakur Stevenson? Or is he going to, and this may actually make the most logical sense, just go back to Top Rank and re-up with them for a couple more fights and see what happens?
Yeah, he could get on like that Teofimo Lopez deal because I feel like Teo's with Top Rank, but we don't really know what the deal is,
Not
right?
long
Like,
term, it doesn't feel like.
yeah, exactly. But his fights are with Top Rank, so I know there's a lot of drama with Shakur Stevenson and Top Rank, so I feel like he doesn't want to stay there. And from all the prepackaged interviews that Top Rank did, you could tell that he's kind of on his way out there. So that's a really important factor of what's next for Shakur Stevenson, because that is another question, Bryan. What is next for Shakur Stevenson? He said he's willing to fight the big names. He had Loma on his shirt. He had Tank on his shirt. Personally, I hope we do get the Loma and Tank fight in November. We'll see if it actually happens. They are in talks. That has been reported. But it's very possible that Shakur Stevenson then would have to wait after that fight to get the winner of them, if that would even possibly happen. Very good chance he could fight Dennis Berinchik. But there's possibilities for Shakur Stevenson. And at this point, yeah, we definitely would like to see him against a big name, because he said in his post-fight interview, if you want me, to have these spectacular performances, I'm paraphrasing, by the way, put me in the ring with big names that want to fight. And personally, what are your thoughts on who he should fight next, and if you see him winning against those guys?
His best win is against Oscar Valdez, right?
Most entertaining too.
Yeah.
Jamel Herring was entertaining, but
yeah,
my favorite fight from Shakur was the Oscar Valdez one, and like Valdez is one of my favorite fighters. So he just picked him apart in that fight. But we haven't seen a Shakur performance like that since how long?
I think Oscar Valdez too is the only really the only guy he's fought that you would say is a top flight guy in that. Like he was one of the best at that weight class at the time that they fought at super featherweight. It was a unification fight. You know what I mean? He beat Conceição also, who got he's got a title now, but you know we'll get into that in a second. But I think like with Shakur, like I at this point I'm only interested in seeing him fight against other top guys because all right, we know how skilled you are, we know how talented you are, and a lot of people are bored by you. So let's see you against a top guy, whoever that may be. Like he beat somebody today who a lot of people thought in Artem Harutyunyan who beat Frank Martin. A lot of people thought he beat Frank Martin in that fight. He did not get the Frank Martin decision, but a lot of people thought he beat Frank Martin in that fight. And he beat this dude up. Like I was surprised to see one scorecard was 116, 112. That wasn't the worst scorecard of the night. And ultimately, like he won a one-sided decision. I gave Shakur all but maybe like 2 rounds. So I would want to see him against, you know, even like if it's the Vasily Lomachenko tank winner, like sure, that'd be awesome. I don't care if he fights the loser of that fight. Like I'd be interested in even that. I don't care. Like the bar for me, like the absolute floor is probably like Raymond Murataya. Like that's probably like I don't want anyone lower than that on the tier. You know, assuming he even beats Tevin Farmer in his next fight, which isn't going to be a gimme. So, like, or Baranchyk, as you mentioned. But
yeah, Barancyk's a title holder.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that and I'm like, that would be a very, very interesting fight. Also,
some rumors,
Navarrete, yes.
If Navarrete is going to stay at 135 even after the Baranchyk fight, sure, that'd be great.
And also, he's supposed to have his rematch with Oscar Valdez. Like they're fighting again, and I don't know why, but they're making this fight again. Yeah,
what's happening in this sport? All right, let's actually get to some comments because you know Shakur is gonna. This is the thing. Shakur's polarizing. He'll bring out the commenters or whatever the case may be. We'll go all the way to the top to Nader187. Thank you, Nader, for joining the show. I almost feel like I'm saying a slur. Shakur is a counterpunching defensive fighter, but damn, can we get any highlights on his way to a big fight? Nobody wants to fight this guy, and it's not because he's too good. You know,
I kind of agree with that. I agree with that because it's also like if they have a fight with him and Loma, is that a pay-per-view fight? Like for nerds, we're like, okay, that's a good fight. But is that a pay-per-view fight?
Like a mainstream
is that pay-per-view
crossover,
worthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing
they'll put it on pay-per-view though. You know that.
That fight they will, yeah. But he's not as polarizing, right? Yeah. Like he is polarizing in the sense that we're like, yo, he's boring. He put me to sleep. Tim Braddock's like, yo, I got my coffee ready. And people are commenting on how boring he is, but those are all the wrong reasons to be polarizing, in my opinion. So is he polarizing in the sense where you want to pay $89.99 for a fight from him? Like, I don't think so. I think there's only so many guys that are pay-per-view fighters. And as good as Shakur is, I think he beats a lot of guys. Oh, Danny Jacobs has
I'm watching that now. Yeah, that's not a good cut.
I hope they don't. It's in a tough place if you're watching this right now. We're trying to do 2 things at once.
It looked like that was from a straight right hand. Also, it didn't look, and there was a headbutt after actually. So the reason it stopped right now, I think it's because, and I'm not listening to the audio because we're fucking talking to each other and doing a show with you guys, but like. It looked like they're gonna blame that on the head, but that's a bad place to have a cut, though.
Yeah, hard to stop, definitely. As I was saying though, I saw that Danny Jacobs caught me off guard. Yeah, like he is really good, but I don't think people are scared to fight him. Like I don't think that's the narrative, really.
Yeah.
Oh, Tyrone the Great. If you donate to the show, we put your comment on right away and we get to it.
Yeah.
So Tyrone the Great, always donating to the channel, by the way. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and I made sure the monetization was on because YouTube sometimes be shutting that off, like accidentally or whatever the case may be. All right, more comments here. We have IMPK13. Foster got robbed, and Stevenson is still boring. Zepeda looked like a 15-1 favorite after the first round. Update on the Zepeda fight for me because I haven't. I
was watching too many fights, so I have DAZN, so I'm gonna watch the replay later.
Listen, I had, and you know me. I went to my brother's house. I was watching Money in the Bank. At the same time, I was watching Puerto Rico versus Mexico in Olympic qualifiers in men's basketball. And at the same time, I was also watching this top ranked card. And I also at one point tuned into Brazil versus Uruguay. Earlier, I was watching Euros. Like, I'm just snorting sports today.
Yeah, let's go to
Mateo.
Mateo.
Yeah.
Shakur is very good and tough to tag when he doesn't search or look for the knockout, but it was disappointing that he didn't finish Artem. The debating with his corner was strange. Yeah, like I was annoyed the whole time. Like, why is he doing that?
He's
Could
talking
you
back to his
imagine?
coach. It's like the dude on varsity who's been on varsity since his freshman year, and you know he's very talented, but he talks back to the coach all the time because he thinks he fucking knows everything.
Yo, but I think that's so different, right? Because in basketball, like you will have an opinion on something, right? But you're not being trained. Like boxing is totally different. Like you have to have a special relationship with your trainer. Basketball, it's like if your coach is like, well, you should have made that play. It's like, well, no, like I was doing this. Like I've been there before where I've argued with my coach about that. But if I was like boxing, I wouldn't argue with my trainer on every time they're in the corner. Every time, not just like one time. He was doing it every time. He was doing it every time. I think it's different because this is like one-on-one training.
Mateo also says first time I've seen fans walk out before it was over. Chance Livingston. Shakur is new Adrian Broder 2.0. Hate to say it.
No,
Can you elaborate on that comparison? I don't think he's Adrian Broder necessarily. Adrian Broder is like a special kind of, I don't even know what I describe him as, but I mean, Adrian Broner lost to all the best guys he fought, and also is like one of the. I think Chris Algieri actually said this: the worst 4-division champion in boxing history. And if you look at how he won the titles, it was either Chris Algieri or Paul Maldonado, one of them dudes. I think one of them said it and the other one co-signed it. But I mean, there's a compelling case for that. So I don't think Shakur Stevenson is necessarily that.
I wouldn't say that. And less crazy as well. XL. Yeah, I'm taking a break from Shakur for a while now. Tim was in line about having your coffee. Honestly, the first 2 rounds, I was worried.
Me
the first
too.
2 rounds, yo. Like I know it's the first 2 rounds, I was like, and he got boring again near the end, and like Artem getting his bag. Like the 9th round, I gave to Artem. I gave Artem 2 rounds.
I wonder if he broke his hand. Somebody was Ryan Songalia, who
again didn't Shakur say his last fight something was wrong with his hand?
Speaking of Floyd Mayweather went through this shit all the time, where he was just like, and that's part of why he stopped fighting the way he did. Actually, it was because rumor was that he just kept breaking his fucking hands.
Yeah. TJ Strickland, Stevenson versus Zepeda, maybe. It's not a bad fight.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take him. Baranchek, Murataya, Zepeda, like one of those dudes, and then the Shakur, the Gervonta Davis, Vasily Lomachenko, winner or loser.
Yeah. Anthony Beck, friend of the show. Anthony, thanks for rocking with us. Shakur needs to fight a bigger name, but he looked great tonight. Like, he's not looking bad out there. He's a good boxer. He's one of the best guys in the sport. He's one of the best in his division. Is he just entertaining, though? I think, like, that's, like, the question. And it brings me to this. Do you find Shakur Stevenson fights entertaining? And leave some comments. Like, do you find them entertaining? I know XL said Tim Bradley was right about the coffee. Here's the thing. I love boxing and I don't need the knockout, and I love beautiful boxing, but sometimes Shakur doesn't engage enough. For example, when Devin Haney fought Loma, he swept him in that first fight. I thought he won like every round, essentially. Not Loma, Kambosos. When he fought Kambosos. I was gonna say, whoa, what did I just say there? I just got
Devin Haney. She had Devin Haney sweeping George Kambosos,
not Loma, because that fight was a lot closer than
that fight was. Yeah, that fight was.
I could have gone either way to some people. Some people thought Loma won, but for George Kambosos, I thought Devin Haney put on like a beautiful performance though in those fights. Like it was nice to see him box like that. Whereas Shakur, I'm just like, I need more engagement from him. Do you find his fights entertaining, Bryan?
Yeah, I don't need the knockouts either. I loved Andre Ward. You know what I mean? Like I really held Floyd Mayweather's skill in high regard. Also, I don't necessarily need the knockouts, but yeah, you want to see it's boxing at the end of the day, right? You want to see people box, and a big part of that is offense. Like it's not all defense. So I think the thing that makes him frustrating again is because he could stand in front of somebody, the other guy's not doing anything, and it's like, yo, you don't have to strike second. You don't have to just wait. He's not the only one that does this. There are other guys that do this. Like Richardson Hitchens does this also. Like there are other defensive
And
fighters
they also
coming
say
up.
he's boring.
Right. Like this is the sort of trend. Like, these are the type of fighters that we're kind of producing now in this country, particularly in America. Like we're producing guys that people think are boring because they don't fight entertaining styles. Like you find guys from like Eastern Europe or from like Puerto Rico or Mexico, and they don't have like a high knockout percentage, but they're not necessarily boring fighters. They just don't have a lot of power, but they still box. They still, they still, some of them are still really good defensively. They take chances. Like I wouldn't say Dimitri Bivol is a boring fighter because
No, not at all.
he's in there mixing it
But
up with dudes. He punches with volume. He doesn't really get hit like that. He's just super super skilled. He just doesn't have a ton of knockout power.
no, but that's exactly what I was saying. And Strike First FC also says it. I don't think Shakur is boring, but I think he needs a higher output in his fights. Just
Yeah,
get a
that's
little
where
bit
I'm
more
at.
busy.
Mhm.
Just disengage a little bit more. And I think people will be a lot happier. Like there was a little part in that fight, like you said, like rounds 4 through 8-ish,
Yeah.
where he was busy and it was entertaining. If we got that Shakur Stevenson for 12 rounds, I guarantee you, and if he used his jab a lot more, and if he cut off the ring a little bit better, I guarantee you that there would be stoppages, right? There would be stoppages because he would just break you down. So I think, that's one of the things that a lot of people want to see from him. Let's go to another comment. King KO, friend of the show. We saw you on the post-fight show last time. Shakur the Boar Stevenson with a sleeping emoji and a bed.
Kind of rhymes. We got a couple others here. Let's go
Yeah.
to. We got a bunch actually. Ray Swisher. I think Shakur is okay with winning a certain type of way. This performance wasn't bad at all. I want to see him versus Zepeda. Listen, I agree generally with what that
Yeah.
says. The Zepeda fight will be fun. I wonder promotionally. I mean, he's a free agent now, so like that'd be weird if Shakur signs with like Golden Boy or Matchroom or just anywhere. But like I'm so used to seeing him with Top Rank because he spent his whole career there. It'd be weird
Yeah.
seeing him with somebody else. CK Standard. I thought this was an interesting comment. I wanted to bring it up. The truth is, no one calls out Shakur. The narrative that quote unquote he's boring is not an excuse for other elite fighters avoiding him. And I think this is part of like, people, because there's people have talked about this. Like he's been presented to other guys who have just flat out said no, Vasily Lomachenko probably being the most prominent among them. And I think what people don't want to fight dudes who are super frustrating to fight, to box, and there probably isn't going to be a ton of money in that fight compared to other guys, like because he hasn't mastered like being a villain yet, and now he's polarizing, which is good financially, but people also think he's boring. So it's like there's just things working against him. But I agree, like I don't think elite fighters. I don't think elite fighters should be avoiding each other. Period. Which is part of why Canelo Alvarez, a lot of people pissed at him because he's about to fight not David Benavidez, and we want to see him fight David Benavidez.
Let's get to this one because this is important. Also, Shantelle moves to Sacktown. We'll know exactly who she is when she's at the Kings game with her DeMar DeRozan jersey. So my pops lived in Sacktown for a very long time, for like 15 years. Also lived in like Oakland and the Bay area on the other side of the bridge. But a lot of time in Sacktown. Spent a lot of summers there. I am getting a DeMar jersey, 100%, because when he left the Raptors, I'm still mad at how the Raptors did him. I'm still mad about how the Raptors
So is
did
Kendrick
them.
Lamar, evidently.
And so that's the thing. It's like, why would he ride for Drake when he's from Compton? That's a whole nother argument. But I like the
Well,
move.
He didn't because he was in the Not Like Us music video.
No, I know
Also.
they were mad about that. I'm like, why would he? People are like,
Oh,
well,
I see what you're saying.
he's
Yeah.
Drake's best friend, like one of his best friends. Drake has a lot of best friends. I don't know.
No,
Anyways,
not anymore. All right.
yeah,
Jalen Davis. What's up, guys? Disappointing night.
Abdullah Mason was dope though.
I
Like-
love just the bluntness. That Keyshawn Davis fight was weird, huh?
It was very dirty. It was a dirty fight, but I thought Keyshawn held it down and he just outclassed him. But it was actually an entertaining fight. That
Stop
was
what you're
entertaining.
doing. We have a super chat. Anthony Beck, thank you for the donation. What the hell do the judges look at during boxing matches? Oshaki Foster didn't get touched the entire fight and should have won.
Mhm.
Let's do a couple minutes on this. Before we because we do have to get to Ryan.
Oh yeah, I thought this was gonna be a short post-fight show,
Yeah,
but we
me
got to get
too.
to Oshaki.
We're not
So
going to spend too much time on Ryan Garcia. We're going to try not to. And y'all could weigh in on Ryan Garcia if you want, because that guy. Whew. I don't know what the judges looking at. I think a lot of judges. Just look at aggression, which is somehow, I guess, how Conceição gets the win over Oshaki Foster, who I was seeing people, someone I know who is a pro boxer, who's a trainer at the gym that I box at, and actually has a fight coming up. Um, he said he had Oshaki Foster winning 11-1. And I would defer to him because, well, one, he trains me, and also like he's a pro
Mark
boxer with an
Kriegel had the
undefeated
same
record. Like
scorecard. He had the same scorecard.
Mark Kriegel 11-1. A bunch of other people I saw another pro boxer actually say this, that they couldn't get Peter Quillen, another that he couldn't get over like how bad of a robbery it was. Like Bill Burr tweeted out like, yo, like this is the craziest robbery I've ever seen, or something along those lines. Like I don't know what the judges are looking at other than just bullshit aggression. And it's like I don't care how aggressive you are if you're not landing punches. Like I could be walking you down the entire time. If I'm not landing shit, how am I gonna win a fight?
He didn't touch Oshaki Foster a lot. And that was my issue with it. Like there were a couple, like I want to know what the criteria is for the judges when they're scoring the fight, because every judge scores it a little bit differently. And I was generous to Robson Conceição. I had it scored 117, 111, which I think is like super, super generous. But there were times where Oshaki was throwing and it was just hitting, Robson's high guard. But other than that, like Conceição didn't land on him. I don't even think he landed like 100 punches. Like he was staying busy and he was coming forward, but Oshaki defensively did his thing, but maybe they thought he didn't engage enough. Regardless, there's no way that Oshaki Foster should not have won that fight. It's embarrassing. It's disgusting. And he was in tears after, man. Like he was literally stunned. And I think the boxing world was stunned that he lost that fight. They got to do something about that. That was a clear robbery. There's no way Robson Conceição won that fight. And yeah.
I wish they can get that decision reversed. Speaking of decisions, Shane Mosley Jr. just got a unanimous win against Danny Jacobs.
Nice win.
One of the scorecards was, I think, 100-90, just straight up, which, good for Shane Mosley Jr., who is kind of on a little bit of a run. I'm not going to turn this into Shane Mosley Jr. hour yet, but that's a nice win. And I wonder if Danny Jacobs is about to retire right now. But 190, 99, 91, 99, 91. From the looks of it, I didn't think Danny Jacobs was doing much, but I kind of just glanced over.
Look at this one. Shakur versus Jermaine Ortiz next. Jalen Davis just hit us in one of the comments of the night. Both, I don't even know what would happen in that fight. That's a fight people don't want to see, man. That's a fight.
Listen, as somebody who I think Jermaine Ortiz is underrated. I think he's a very sound technical boxer who is sharp defensively, who has quick hands. I do not want to see him fight Shakur Stevenson.
No, I actually like Jermaine Ortiz a lot too.
Like, do you like when like two ground and pound offenses play against each other in football? Like, do you want to see Iowa?
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Do you want to see Iowa versus Stanford? Do you want to see Iowa versus Stanford?
I would watch that and be gladly happy. I love and I love like defensive games. I love a game that's like 3-0. Like I don't know what it is. Like I'm the wrong person to ask for football. Don't ask me those questions. I'm gonna disappoint you. You know what I mean? Obviously people want to see two high-powered offenses and like shootouts. Watch the Big 12 then. But like, yeah, like I that would not be a good. That's why I said it was the comments of the night, because I don't think a lot of people, they would never make that fight. DT says, and by the way, DT, thanks for joining the show. Mm-hmm. Mason is going to surpass Shakur. Abdullah Mason is probably one of my favorite prospects right now. Like the kid has superstar written all over him. I love the way he talks. He's literally like knocking out dudes, getting the stoppages. He's fun to watch, and he was the highlight of the night. That's why I think the night wasn't a dud because of Abdullah Mason, and Keyshawn won too. Like Keyshawn fought a good fight against a guy that they were both. If you go back and watch that fight, it was a dirty fight, but Keyshawn did his thing and just outclassed him.
Abdullah Mason also apparently has another fight already scheduled for August 17th, according to BoxRec. That's going to be in Quebec City. So we'll see Abdullah Mason again very soon. And he is a lot of fun. That's on the That's on the Christian Mbili Sergey Derevyanchenko card, which is a sneaky good fight. Apparently Jahi Tucker is also supposed to be on that, along with a couple other guys, Guido Vanello also.
Anthony Beck, you don't want to watch Iowa versus Stanford. I like that nasty, gritty Big Ten defense from Iowa. I think they would smoke Stanford. They would smoke Stanford. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Sometimes defense gives you offense. King KO. Danny Jacobs is washed. Why is he still fighting? I was hoping Danny would have a good performance. I've always been a big Danny Jacobs fan. So
I was kind of hoping he'd retire after the John Ryder fight. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It wasn't a good performance. It wasn't definitely a good performance.
Should I tell the story? Should I tell the story about when I was on lockdown with his trainer, or not?
No. We don't have enough time for that today. Okay. Join us for another live. Nader 187. If Shakur throws more punches, flat out, he's the number one money fight out there. If he was more entertaining,
Shakur.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
He's not going to do that, though.
No. I am PK13. What do you think about Stevenson embracing the Twitterson nickname?
Twitterson, yeah. Shakira Twitterson is what Edwin De Los Santos called him, and he put Twitterson on the back of his trunks. It would have been funnier if he actually got the stoppage tonight. Mm-hmm. But I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I kind of think it's to some degree, he's still kind of finding his voice.
Whoa. Shane Mosley just called out Erislandy Lara. That's crazy. I love Lara.
Did he?
Apparently he did.
XL
said.
Real?
That's a tough fight. I don't know if...
Why would he want that fight?
That's a tough fight, actually.
Erislandy Lara is what people think Shakur Stevenson's eventually going to be. And I love Erislandy Lara, but I don't think he's boring necessarily the way some people do, but
no, he's not a boring fight. And actually, I thought when he fought Canelo, he gave Canelo quite a run for his money. And I always wanted the Lara Danny Garcia fight, but I don't know what the hell happened to that.
Virgil Ortiz fight just got announced, by the way.
Speaking of Virgil Ortiz, him and Ryan Garcia were going back and forth on Twitter. So let's get into the Ryan Garcia debacle here, because Ryan Garcia getting into more trouble. He's been banned by the WBC for his racist comments. He's saying he's going to get help. His family put out a statement. Bryan, after he beat Devin Haney in the post-fight interview, he said, y'all thought I was crazy? I was just trying to sell fights. Then he does this. Like, what are your thoughts on Ryan, and how much more worse can it get at this point? He just got banned by the WBC for this.
I'm not going to repeat what he said, because you need to hear him say that shit. First of all, it was bad. It was awful. He says he's going to get help. We'll see. He just says shit. Like, I don't care about anything he says, and I haven't. Like, he just be talking, right? We're gonna be brief on this, Jesus. We just have to, we're not gonna be the boxing show that ignores Ryan Garcia being racist. But he's making a lot of doof comments. He has a lot of doof fans that are gonna defend everything he does, and he's a doof. So I think ultimately, the time away from boxing is probably what he needs, and it'll be good for him. Yada yada yada. I don't know. I don't know. This is a dude that's clearly spiraling, and even when he beat Devin Haney, I was either on the show or we were talking about this privately. I was like, something felt off about that fight, right? Like, other than the fact that he was overweight and then apparently on steroids and the way he's been acting, it's just weird. And now all of a sudden you're placating to certain people. And it's like, I don't know where does this turn come from? And this is what people are trying to figure out. Like, Virgil Ortiz is basically like, yo, I've known this dude since we were in the amateurs and we fought a couple times and he wasn't like this. That's the thing. A lot of people I don't know if it's trying to make excuses for him that they're doing, but they're basically all like, hey, he wasn't like this before. And he didn't seem like this leading up to the Gervonta Davis fight. So whoever the fuck is around this dude needs to like try to get through to him. Or maybe this is one of those situations where we know people like this. Like, it kind of doesn't matter what you fucking tell them; they're just gonna do what they want to do. So he's spiraling. He says he's gonna get help. We'll see if that even works. Um, you know, best of luck to him, I guess. But he's being a doof, and I think that he like boxing doesn't need this right now. Ryan doesn't need this right now. Neither does his family. His family, by the way, came out and condemned what he said in terms
Yeah.
of the racist comments and in terms of using religion as a shield and things of that nature. It's just irresponsible, reckless behavior, and he needs to just calm down, relax, and get the fuck off of whatever he's on, because he's clearly on something.
I think the WBC banning him was the best thing that could have happened to him, because he just wouldn't shut up after. After he got banned and he made those racist comments, he kept on talking about why he made those racist comments. And it's the people around him. He definitely wasn't like this after the Tank fight, but I think something happened that triggered him after that, because Ryan Garcia has not been the same, essentially. I don't know what happened in that time frame, but something clearly happened where he's been different. He's acting erratic. The racist comments and what he said was absolutely disgusting. And no matter what Ryan Garcia says to defend himself, it's not going to change what he said. So I think the fact that he's been suspended, that he just got banned, Ryan Garcia is crashing fast. And I would hope that the people around him would try to help him. And he said he's going to get the help. Let's see if he actually does. And hopefully we see the change. But it's kind of unsettling when you're seeing someone unravel right before your eyes. And this is happening where the whole world is watching it happen. So hopefully he gets the help that he needs, because there's something going on with him. And, it's kind of interesting because Bryan and I had a conversation with someone that has a pretty massive boxing platform when we started the show. And he kind of gave us some insight, saying that there were things in Ryan Garcia's world that were pretty chaotic in a nice way. And he told us this.
Forgot about this conversation.
Yeah.
This was before he fought Gervonta Davis, by the way.
Yes.
Before that. This was like early 2023.
Yeah. And this is a guy that has a massive platform. And he told us, like, Ryan's probably not going to be in the sport for a long time, but the people around him, he kind of pretty much implied there's a lot of stuff going on around him, his closest people as well. So it's upsetting to see someone go through that in front of the whole entire world. But I think what he did was not okay. Not okay. And I don't think anything that he says to defend himself will make it okay. And someone just needs to take his phone and tell him to stop tweeting.
Yeah.
He just needs to get off social media, because he keeps on digging himself a bigger hole. And it's not good for boxing. You know what? The Ryan Garcia thing, the steroid thing, wasn't good for boxing. This isn't good for boxing. And the robbery that we just saw isn't good for boxing. So right now, I think the sport is in a really weird situation, Bryan.
Yeah. We got some comments here. Like basically echoing the same things. He's unraveling, like you said, and then it's also the fact that, like, he has all these, to Jalen Davis's point, enablers, not just in his corner, but on social media. And I think it's felt for months that he's feeding into that, right? And just feeding into the enablers, just like who I think he has, like, all these new fans also that aren't actually boxing fans, or just fans of Ryan Garcia, kind of like how, and not this is in a different way, but how there are a lot of Caitlin Clark fans who
I knew you were going to go there.
WNBA.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to mention Caitlin Clark. Just saying, I read your mind.
Jesus Christ. Caitlin Clark is great. Just had a triple-double. Some of her stands are nuts. Same thing with Ryan Garcia, except the Ryan Garcia one is a lot more dangerous, because Caitlin Clark, as far as we know, doesn't have any of those issues. Yeah, so I think with Ryan Garcia, we'll see what happens from here, but hopefully he just shuts up for a while, gets the help he needs. But, like, again, like, to your point, like, I'm not going to be able to erase the shit he was saying about George Floyd, black people in general, like What are
Well,
we
I want to put
doing?
up the Jalen Davis comment because I think this is
Sure.
important because this is connected.
Sure.
Ryan's been enabled all his life. However, his father calling Devin Haney nappy headed was telling. I agree with you 100%. It must not
Mm,
just be Ryan.
it can.
He got it from somewhere, right?
Hmm.
So let's not beat around the bush here. If he's saying those things, he's probably been saying it. And so that's my issue.
It's
Like,
usually how
don't
it
throw
goes. Yeah.
rocks and then hide your hands,
Hmm.
right? So it's disgusting behavior. And, not to make it, well, it is about race, but like in Cali, like in Southern California and LA, there's a time where, Black people and Mexican people don't get along. This is like documented, right?
Although,
There's been riots that have happened in like Southern California schools for this, where they've had to like close down schools. And it's, listen, the stuff he was saying was disgusting, man. And like, I don't want to support a Ryan Garcia fight after that. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care, because
yeah,
like, what he said was disgusting. So do I want to go out and buy a Ryan Garcia pay-per-view after he does, like, because he says he's going to get help? So let's just say he gets the help, and then he does this like press tour after where he's like all changed. I still don't want to buy your fight because what you said.
yeah.
Like,
Like,
I'm being honest right now. Like, it makes me not ever want to purchase a fight and support you ever because of what you said.
yeah. And on top of that, like, to your point about rivalries, I'm not sure how many. Like, I got Mexican friends that don't claim Ryan Garcia. Like, they don't
Yeah,
want
that's
to be
true.
their
Yeah,
hesitant
that's
of
true.
doing it. You know what I mean? Probably especially after this. Speaking of dudes with weird views, Jorge Masvidal stepping to the ring now is going to fight Nate Diaz. So we have that fight going on as we're doing this, and Jorge Masvidal is actually a big time favorite. Oh, Jorge Masvidal's also got some interesting gear, so pretty par for
Oh
the
yeah,
course
let me
here.
just take a look at this right here. What is this? I wonder what song he's coming out to right now. That's what I was curious about.
I don't.
Okay, it's some Spanish.
Okay. I thought it was gonna be something else the way he be talking.
Yeah,
Okay. Do we have anything else on the show? Comments, questions, bunch of Ryan Garcia ones. Do we have we're done with the Ryan Garcia topic.
yeah. Let's.
And we'll probably talk about him again soon because I don't know if he's actually gonna go away quietly. He also got arrested recently. Like, that's the other thing. Like, he
For
got arrested.
vandalism, right?
Yeah, when I was at the Xander Zayas fight, I got an alert on my phone from TMZ that Ryan Garcia got
At
arrested
like one of the most expensive LA hotels
for
and
felony
one of the
vandalism.
nicest areas. That's where he got arrested for vandalism. Like,
He was trying
it's.
to make a joke about it too. Like, what are we doing? Okay, so any comments, questions, anything else to close us out here on shit boxing in general? As we're about to watch Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal is minus 275. I was like, based on what?
I'm gonna take Nate Diaz. I like Nate Diaz. I'm just a bigger Nate Diaz fan, so I'm being biased.
I don't know if
But
he's gonna be that, like, because Brian Campbell was talking about this with Luke Thomas, and he was like, because he's like doing the interviews and reporting on this fight. He was like, oh, Jorge Masvidal's corner, and his people, like, they know he needs his fight. Like, he's been really like pushing himself because he actually really thinks like this could lead to another big fight.
oh wow,
Not necessarily like another big like celebrity fight, like a fight with like a boxer, like that can like, and it's like you're almost 40. But all right,
yeah,
like, let's see, you know what I mean? And the UFC is like kind of helping them out there because I think this is also on UFC Fight Pass, not
yeah.
just on the Zone. So I don't know. Like, I'm not super into this bout, but I'm like
I'm into seeing
I'm
what.
interested
Yeah,
enough to see like what the outcome is. And honestly, like, it's Nate Diaz. Like, Nate Diaz, one of the dudes, you just got to see what he does. You know what I mean?
that's why I'm watching. I'm watching for Nate Diaz. I enjoy Jorge Masvidal in the octagon though, but very interesting fight that's about to go down. Any final comments, guys, before we get up and out of here?
Ah,
Um,
this is a good one. I am PK13. Which fight will be better? These are both next
Alim
Saturday.
Hanala. Yeah,
We are not doing a live for this. I will be away, and also, I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Which fight will be better?
the Jaron Ennis fight.
Yanivek Alimhanala or Mikhailovic, or versus Mikhailovic, or Jaron Ennis versus David Avanesian. I would say
Duran
Actually, I,
Ennis.
I don't know. I don't know because I think the Duran Ennis one is more one sided.
Yeah, it is. That's why it's frustrating with Duran Ennis because I would like him to fight the bigger names. Like,
He was supposed to fight Cody Crowley.
yeah,
Cody Crowley wasn't medically cleared. Cody Crowley, who we had on the show, very interesting interview.
great interview, guys. If you
Um,
haven't seen it, go check it out.
he hasn't fought since then. Probably our fault. But at least Janibek is fighting another undefeated fighter. David Avanesian, I just saw him get knocked out by Terrence Crawford like a year and a half ago.
So they're saying that Troy Isley is being set up to fight Janibek, and it's like, is that going to happen? That would be crazy. I don't know if they give Isley that fight right away, but that's an interesting fight. Because I would like Janibek to fight better competition. But nonetheless, it's very, very interesting. Let's go to Anthony Beck. Obviously, this is the Oshaki Foster. Boxing judges need to change immediately. I just don't know what was going on in that fight. I don't know what went on. I don't know what they saw.
I feel bad for Oshaki. That's the kind of shit that messes up careers. Like,
Yeah.
I hate robberies of boxing. It's one of my least favorite things about the sport. I mean,
And it was like broad daylight robbed.
it's bad.
Like it wasn't
awful.
like in the dark, going in your car. Like he got robbed in broad like that. I've never seen anything like that.
What pisses me off about it is like Oshaki Foster is not like he just got the top rank, right? He was on PBC, but he wasn't like somebody they were actively getting behind.
Yeah.
He had to go to Mexico for one of his fights not that long ago on the zone and then got the top rank deal. He's not one of these dudes like Shakur Stevenson, actually, who walks in the door fresh off the Olympics and it's like, we're behind you 1000%. And we're going to put you on all these cards. We're going to showcase you on TV within your first few fights. Like, your debut is going to be a big deal. Same thing with like Richard Torres Jr. These guys are excellent prospects. But like Oshaki Foster had to legitimately get it out the mud and is somebody who is not heavily backed, is clearly very skilled, is better than most of the guys at 130. I think he can move up to 135 and be a threat. And he's had to work very hard and not be a sexy name and be a B-side at times, to get these wins and get these big fights. And then he gets a chance on Top Rank. He beats Abraham Nova, who was actually at that fight, by the way. And then he has this fight. He clearly wins and they just rob him. And it's not even like a robbery. Like if this happened the other way, it'd be like, all right, they're, the A side, whatever. What was the business incentive to give it to Robson Conceição? There was none, which means like the judges were just that fucking bad because you can't even conspiracy theory this. Like you just can't.
I don't understand what it would be other than the fact that that was his like fourth title shot. And if he didn't win, like he probably wouldn't get any more. Also, Oshaki, didn't he beat Ray Vargas in a fight where Ray Vargas was the favorite? Like Oshaki's never been that guy. Like as Ryan's been saying, he's never had that cachet behind his name for him to win that fight distinctively because he did, and then have it like I thought they read the scorecards wrong. I was like, did they do this again? Like, this has to be wrong. It's upsetting. Also, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal about to get it on. So
we might get off and watch this. We're not doing a post-fight show after the fight, though.
Yeah.
Like 2 a.m. over here. Ryan Garcia has tweeted.
Really? What has he said?
Because if you don't know, Ryan Garcia's brother was actually on this card and got knocked out by Amado Vargas, one of Fernando Vargas.
Ooh, yes.
Kids.
And that was a great knockout, like great performance from Amado. I did watch that. I had that up to watch that fight.
Ryan Garcia said, damn, with a sad face. And he said, Sean, his brother, just kept getting hit with the uppercut and never countered. Fair play, Amado. Congrats. Although I knock you out and all your brothers pretty easy, but congrats, you guys won. And then after that, he put skipped rehab for this shit with laughing emojis or crying emojis or crying laughing emojis.
He needs to get off social media. Like I'm tired of
Ryan Don't Garcia. Skip rehab. You just started it. Like that's the other thing. Like
yeah, it's ridiculous. Final comment before we get up and out of here because the fight's about to start. Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, Nader 187. Let us know if we're saying that right. Shout out to both of y'all. Love the coverage and the updates on the current boxing world. We are going to try to hit you with some more content before Bryan goes on vacation next week. But shout out to everyone that joined us. We had over 300 people in the live tonight, so we appreciate you. If you're watching this after, please drop some comments. We do take a look at them. Sometimes we don't respond all the time, but we will get to responding to your comments, but we read all of them. Just know that we see all of them, we read all of them. So drop your comments.
Super busy. That's all it is. We're just super busy. That's part of why I'm going away also. Is like I need this recharge between like free agency sort of like petering out and the Olympics starting, because once the Olympics start back up, it's gonna be a mess for you, boy. So
remember, if you like the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. Also follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. Drop all your comments on everything that you saw tonight in the boxing world. What did you think about Shakur Stevenson's performance? Did Foster get robbed? Did you have Robson Conceição? Were you one of those few people that did have Robson and defended him? I had some people defending him on Twitter, hitting me up. Yeah, this one guy's like, well, Oshaki didn't engage as much. Robson didn't land. Like he been like, what are we talking about here? But yeah, drop your comments and enjoy the Nate Diaz Jorge Masvidal fight. It's just about to go down. Bryan, I'll let you go with the final thoughts. Oh, it's Nader, by the way. Nader. And I'm guessing it's 187, just because, like, why wouldn't it be?
What I'll say to close this is, if you don't hear from us next week, one, blame me. Two, we will be back early the week after. But if you do hear from us this week, it will have to be on Tuesday. So if something happens by Tuesday, so
I'll make Bryan get on. You guys will hear something from us. All right.
It'll be live during the day, and in between me packing, we'll get that addressed. So there you go.
Thanks for rocking with us tonight, guys. We'll be back soon. Enjoy the fight.